Well, hello! So I'm going to build another guitar from a kit. Why? Because it's fun!
This is a Jack and Danny guitar I bought with my own money, so I like to make it clear that this is not a sponsored video. I start with a mock assembly because nothing can be worse than finishing the guitar and installing all the hardware only to figure out that, for example, the holes for the bridge are in the wrong position. So the distance from the nut to the 12th fret has to be roughly the same as the distance from the 12th fret to the bridge. Otherwise I will not be able to get the intonation right. But in this case everything seems to be okay.
So my plans for this guitar is to make it look like it's been made out of some old barn wood or something. We'll see.
I tried to simulate some weathering on the wood. Not so much like you would see on a relic guitar, but more like it's been made out of some old used wood. Now to make it look old, I'm going to stain it with an oil stain. And I'm making the stain myself by mixing burnt umber pigments with boiled linseed oil. The pigments are going to highlight every imperfection in the wood. End grain, rough areas and indentations will be darkened by the stain. And some touch up with black stain. Now the oil stain needs some time to cure.
Now in the meantime I have to take care of the frets. And I know a lot of you guys might think it's not necessary, because it's a new guitar. But if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I say this a lot. Cheap guitars almost always need a fret job. You know, this is one of the main differences between a cheap guitar and an expensive guitar. After installing the frets on an expensive guitar, the frets usually have been leveled, crowned and polished. On an inexpensive guitar, like for example this kit guitar, the frets have been installed, but usually that's about it. So if I want this guitar to play good, to feel good, and I don't want to hurt my fingers on the sharp fret ends, I will have to do a fret job. And just to be clear, in this case I don't see it as a quality issue, because leveling the frets is a normal part of building a guitar, even if it's just a kit build.
I make sure that the neck is straight and I mark every fret with a Sharpie. Then I take my fret leveling beam and start leveling the frets until the markings of the Sharpie are gone. This means that now every fret has the exact same height. Because of the leveling, some of the frets have been flattened, so I have to recrown the frets. And I round over the sharp fret ends so that I don't hurt my fingers while playing. To make it look good and feel good, I'm going to polish the frets with 2000 grit paper. Now I could go higher or even use some polishing compound, but it's really not necessary. Oh, I almost forgot the nut. The nut is basically fret number 0, so the nut slots have to be level with the frets. If the nut slots are too high, I will not get a good action on open strings. And if the nut slots are too low, there will be fret buzzing on the first fret. As a final protective finish, I apply 2 coats of Danish oil. Now I screw on the neck and I install all the hardware. to install the pickups, basic soldering skills are beneficial, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay, the guitar is basically done. It just needs some good strings and not the thin frets that came with the kit. And of course the guitar has to be set up. So now let's give it a try.
So there you have it, the guitar, and I like it. Now this is not the first guitar kit I've assembled, so everything went pretty straightforward. Well, maybe with the exception of the neck pocket, because they cut the neck pocket about 4 mm too wide. So I had to glue in some shims. I mean, it's not a big deal because it's a bolt-on neck anyway, but it's definitely a visible flaw. But I think the guitar looks pretty nice and it plays good and it feels good. The pickups, well, they are a little bit dark sounding and a little bit muddy, so I had to dial in a lot of treble on the amp. But let me tell you this, I would totally play this guitar on a live gig without the feeling that it's holding me back. And I mean, what more can you ask of a guitar? So thank you for watching and I hope I see you next time.